This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? My voice is still kind of fucked up. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts, and like it says in the title, we are all out of Chicago. Like I said, man, we had a hell of a weekend, and we are here tonight to kind of tell you a little bit about that and give you our thoughts and breakdowns on AEW All Out and GCW Wargames as Ring the Motherfucking Bell, or wait a minute, I can do you one better. What's that say? I was there. So there ain't no bell to be rang. So without any further ado, Cory, how the fuck are you? And how are you feeling about your first major wrestling experience here?
Well, how I'm feeling on a Tuesday night is regretting my decision of pizza for dinner with some lovely heartburn. But as for the wrestling, man,
All you had to do is say you ate Jets.
No, it wasn't Jets this time. It was All Sports for any of my local Taylor residents. All Sports Pizza. Usually damn good. Gave me heartburn like a motherfucker today. But that being said, wrestling experience was fun, man. Chicago in general was fun. That's why I decided to continue to rock a little bit of Chicago gear for today's episode, is because they treated me well out in Chicago. I had a great time. Got to meet a couple cool people out there. Honestly, just enjoyed my time, both wrestling and with downtown. It was just a good weekend in general. What was your thoughts on the weekend?
I enjoyed it, man. I mean, I obviously was lucky enough to get to go to not only what we did in Chicago, but I was there for SummerSlam as well. Like I said, man, it was easily one of the best wrestling shows I've ever been to in All Out. And that's saying something because I've been to quite a lot of wrestling shows at this point.
That was a very reoccurring theme, even from like random strangers that we would have 5-minute conversations with in the parking lot and stuff after the fact. It was the buzz was real even after the show. Even when, as everybody was exiting, as everything was happening, as everybody was trying to migrate their way to their cars, everybody was just in awe still of what they had seen on the night. So that's how you could tell it was something special for sure.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we got to sit with the homie Ryan Mckinnell from Busted Open and kick it with him. And I somehow managed to wake up and shoot the shit with him on Busted Open with it. And yes, I was the one that fell asleep when they went to me on that episode. Yeah, I fell asleep and then I woke back up and got my shit in where it fit in at the end. So yeah, it was a good time, but it was cool, man, to go down there. And before we get to All Out and all that good stuff, what were your thoughts on the GCW show? Overall experience, matches, all of it.
It was wild. GCW was wild for sure.
What's going on, Kathy? We appreciate you. Check out Twisted Tumblers.
Kathy. But that being said, GCW was wild, man. It really was for a wrestling newbie like myself. That was definitely the hardcore scene, and you could tell it was full of diehards. Everybody was going crazy for that was a fun event. I honestly feel like I had just as much fun at the GCW as I did the AEW event. To be honest with you.
What about, I mean, and I'm not surprised. I told you coming out here that I would find it very hard for you to not go to these two shows and have a good time, because just that atmosphere of the crowd is a whole nother thing, dude. I mean,
the crowd was a huge help as well with the AEW stuff, but it's just a different scenario, right, with the indie shows and stuff. And I could see why somebody who's already a wrestling fan would be a fan of the indie stuff, because It was just a all around different feel. Everything about it, the fact that you were on the ground, standing room only and stuff, and you're trying to fight through the crowd. It's like it reminded me of being at a good concert, where you want to kind of work your way to the front so you can actually see everything that's going on and stuff. It was a fun event. It was definitely a fun event.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, bro, from start to finish, I mean, you said Alley Cat was the one of the ones that stuck out to you, which we got your full thoughts on the death match, which will be coming in the vlog, which I should have out most likely. I'm shooting for Thursday night because it's not wanting to let me get the footage off my camera for some reason. So I've got to take care of some technical difficulties
behind the delay, but that's fine. But yeah, Alley Cat, man, she stood out, man. She really did stand out, and I had noted.
Were you just staring at her ass?
It helped. I had noted many of times that if I'm going to enjoy some wrestling, there's a reason why I have 2 daughters, and it's not because I enjoy watching men. That being said, she did amazing though, beyond just the looks and everything, yada yada, blah blah blah. No, she did.
But she gets in there and goes after it, dude. Male, really female, it doesn't matter. Because I got to see her do her thing in Detroit at GCW Detroit, man, and she had a hell of a match there. I mean, every time I've really seen her get in there and do her thing, dude, she's really done her thing, and especially since she's kind of dropped the Alley Cat and is now Alley Catch. She's really been putting in some bangers, bro. I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you, if it's too long before you see her start showing up on AEW Darkmore or any of that kind of stuff, because I mean, in my opinion, from what I've seen, Alley Catch, whether she's nice to look at or not is irrelevant. She can get in the ring and fucking go, dude. Period.
That's the best way I could describe it, is that point is irrelevant completely. When you're a wrestling fan and you see what she was able to do in the ring, it definitely stood out, even to me as a non-wrestling fan, just enjoying the night. That was, out of everybody, that was probably my most standout performer of them all. She really, I don't know what it is about women wrestling, especially like I had noted in the vlog when I see these co-ed matches and stuff, but when a girl is really able to excuse the phrase, I guess, but bite down on her mouthpiece and really go for it, there's something else to be said for it, right? And I feel like we've seen that in her performance. She, like I said, was my standout. So I would not be surprised at all, like you said, if we see her up in the big leagues here soon.
Well, okay, so tell me a little bit what your thoughts are on seeing GCW Wargames. I mean, you were one to talk a lot about, when you first came on the show about the physicality of wrestling and things of that. I mean, hard to watch that and not say, dude, these guys are beating the living shit out of each other.
Yeah, there was absolutely no way you could leave there and be like, oh yeah, those guys are just fine. That was fake, right? That was just wrestling fakeness, right? No, those guys, it was just, we had noted in the vlog, the light tube bats, the just the whole encompassing thing that they did with that match. I mean, it was genuinely surprising to me what they were able to pull off with everything in that.
Well, without any further ado, we have been joined by another member in one of the originals of this show, Kyle. We were just talking a little bit about GCW Wargames, and I was asking, wow, Ryan coming in hot. CM Punk sucks. Wow. Coming in hot. We didn't even get to AEW yet. He said fuck CM Punk. Wow. Ryan, do you care to elaborate? Why does CM Punk suck?
Let me guess, he's going to say he's overrated, he's just good on the mic, he's too thin, he could make it in WWE, blah, blah, blah. That's the new cool thing now that he's back, is to hate on him.
Anybody who's watching in the live stream, feel free to jump in the comments and tell us any of your thoughts on it. But Kyle, like I said, we were just talking about GCW Wargames. Cory was talking about how you couldn't have watched that match and not been like, holy shit, dude, how are these guys still alive? Like, I mean, let's be honest, dude. Mance Warner and Matthew Justice threw Atticus Cogar off the top of a damn scaffold back into the ring over the top of the cage and threw a damn, like, pane of glass. Like, and the guy was up walking around afterwards. Like, I'm just like, what in the fuck,
bullshit.
man?
That's bullshit. That's not keeping kayfabe alive. No, I'm joking. I saw a couple highlights over the weekend. It looked like a crazy match. I really like that the past weekend in wrestling, you really did get a little bit of everything for everybody. If you were into that hardcore kind of deathmatch stuff, you got that. If you wanted the technical stuff, you had like some stuff in AEW that was real good technical wrestling. You had great tag team. Like, this was a great weekend for wrestling in general, which is really great to see because, you know, contrary to what a lot of people think, WWE is not the end-all be-all for wrestling. For a lot of people, when you say the word WWE, they think you mean wrestling, but it's great now to really have a lot of different alternatives, you know, ROH, Impact, everything. It's really great now that if you're a deathmatch fan, you have a promotion that puts on regular stuff like that. If you're a guy that just likes hardcore, hard-hitting, you know, Japanese, you know, strong style, you have promotions for that. And it's really great. This is probably the best time to be a wrestling fan because there's something for everybody right now.
Kyle froze up on us.
Being catered.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, I completely agree with that. And Ryan coming back in the comments, he said he just makes the show all about him. Ryan, it was the man's first match in 7 years.
I would argue, Ryan, and I know this was something you planned on bringing up later on in the fact, but I feel like he did a great job of bringing Darby up in that match and making him shine just as much as he did himself. And not only to the point, you know, I've made it known a million times, not the wrestling connoisseur myself, but he didn't make it the show about himself. The fans made the show about him. Is what it seemed like on the night. It wasn't necessarily.
Oh, for sure, bro. For sure, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I think that's. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean it's a big surprise. I mean, it's the guy's first wrestling match in over 7 years. It's in his hometown, and it's with one of the hottest promotions out. So I mean, I'm shocked and, you know, completely surprised that, you know, people were talking about him. I mean, come on, like that's just.
Well, Ryan's not exactly the biggest wrestling guy, to be fair.
And that's the thing.
He watches
outside looking in, it's still a cool event because I mean, it got mainstream coverage of him making his comeback because people saw the emotion that people had when he came back. I mean, the only other thing that was comparable to me was when Edge made his return last year in the Rumble. You know, it was an emotional thing to somebody you had an emotional connection to.
Well, and the crazy thing about that, right, is like then that brings you to the next thing in like what are the possibilities that can come off of that? Because the other thing I wanted to touch on before we got off of GCW is then that doesn't even end at the end of the War Games match. I mean, MDK, you know, MDK wins. Wow, he said CM Punk's a jobber. Wow, he's throwing out the wow shit. I mean, shit. Well, if he's a jobber, I mean, if he's a jobber, I mean, pay me $3 million a year, brother. If he's a jobber, pay me $3 million a year, fam. I'm good on it.
If being a jobber is selling the most T-shirts in the history of pro wrestling tees, the fastest in pro wrestling tees, and winning your match, and getting mainstream coverage to your promotion, and getting the entire industry talking, I'll be the Brooklyn fucking baller, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you on that one. I don't know that you can call him too much of a jobber for sure. But yeah, man. And then, like I said, with GCW, dude, you had Matt Cardona comes out in his Macho Man cosplay, which, first of all, shout out to you, Matt Cardona, because that was pretty badass. Came out in the Deathmatch King stuff. And then he beats who of all people but Frank the Clown. And retains the GCW title and tries to get out of the cage. Now, mind you, they haven't even lifted the War Games cage. So then the music goes, or the same thing like before with Mox, where he did the boogeyman deal, gets in the ring, removes the hood, hits Cardona, pins him, and then he calls out Nick Gage, and then they're just face to face, and now they're going to face each other October 9th in Atlantic City for the GCW title. Now, the reason I bring that up, first of all, that was a badass start to the weekend. But that being said, like, I love the fact of the possibilities that are opened up, that you can see a guy like Moxley in GCW as the champion, and he wears a GCW hoodie out to the ring at All Out.
Yeah, I thought that was huge. I thought that was absolutely huge. The fact that AEW allowed him to wear that out was absolutely huge. That really was.
And then he goes the next night to be facing a guy like Satoshi Kojima from New Japan, and he was just at a show like GCW the night before. I mean, like I said, these are possibilities that we've never really seen. Now, again, even with AEW, kind of rising and doing their thing, I think everybody who really watches wrestling would agree. I think WWE is still going to be fine. I don't think they're going anywhere. But I mean, if anything, one night show in what we saw in AEW All Out, made a huge ass impact, at least a bigger impact than we've had in a while. Well, Cory,
I'll say it moved the needle.
I mean, hell yeah, it did. There's no arguing that. I mean, before we get to All Out, so Kyle, I know you are a Shy Sox fan, but Cory and I went and checked out old Wrigley before we went and checked out All Out. I mean, I gotta say, Wrigley Field might be one of the nicest fields I've seen the inside of, but bro, that concourse though,
it's old as hell. It was. I was at my dad's house earlier for work, wrapping up the day. Everybody's asking me how Chicago was, how the field was, and everything. And I had explained it to them like this. Basically, their hallway, which is a normal size hallway in any house in America, double that, and that's about the size of the walkway in the concourse. And when you're trying to fit a population of a city like Chicago inside of an arena like that, the walkways were as cramped as could be. The best part of the outside of the park, the park itself was beautiful. Where we were sitting, awesome seats. The game looked amazing. The field looked amazing. The inside of the park, though, had left a lot to be desired. It really did. The only thing nice on the inside was the damn store, and that's just because they're making money off it. So.
And it's funny? I guess because Kyle and I have been talking about this trip that, Facebook and YouTube and Google listen to everything we say. And I was on YouTube, and just out of nowhere, it comes up from the Chicago Cubs YouTube channel, like a 45-minute documentary about them rebuilding Wrigley Field over the last...
Well, Kyle froze up.
12 years, and I actually watched it and saw, historically Wrigley and everything. They even took away the ivy and made sure it was at the right temperature when they put it back so it didn't die. They put the actual clubhouse is now underneath Wrigley. Like,
I know, we checked that out. That was so dope.
That part was pretty sweet. The fact that they had an open bullpen that you could walk up to and you could see right through the glass, see who was there warming up in the pitch. That was cool. That part was pretty cool.
What's some bullshit is we left. They were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, and first of all, it's some bullshit because we left in about the bottom of the 7th inning, and then the motherfucker scored 3 runs with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th to win.
That's
As a
hilarious.
baseball fan, I should know better than to ever leave a game. Like, that's always been one of my pet peeves. But we're in another city, right? The home team's losing. I don't have that much, hope, especially in the rebuilding Cubs. So I was like, we'll just get out of here. We'll go enjoy Chicago a little bit more, take in downtown while we're down here. And yeah, sure enough, wouldn't you know, the team that you're going for pulls it off. Like Kyle said, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and they still get the win. So shout out Cubs. But of course, you couldn't play good while we were there,
I told
Yeah,
Conway should have went and took the Sox, man. That they won.
This guy's a White Sox fan, dude.
I like messing
This
with
guy's
him.
a White.
That sounds cool. I actually am a Go Pepper, man. I've been a White Sox fan since Jordan played for the AA team. That's the only time I was really a White Sox fan. When I was a kid, my dad was a White Sox fan. I stuck with them. I'm one of the few people that actually still remembers that they won a championship in 2005. Nobody ever seems to talk about that shit, which is so funny. Everybody makes a big deal now that the Cubs finally won and the Red Sox won, but the White Sox won right after the Red Sox. Nobody talks about that. But I am a little jealous because I went to Chicago about a month ago for my birthday. You got to go to the Chicago Bean, which is the only thing I didn't get to do.
Yeah, so we got to check that out. Let's tell you a little bit about that. So we filmed Cory's reaction to GCW Wargames inside Millennium Park, and we almost got kicked out of there for doing said recording in Millennium Park because I wanted to record with the Bean in the background, but there was 1,000,001 fucking people, and Cory and I'm like, that's a pretty cool looking whatever that is. Not realizing it was an amphitheater. So we walk over there, and there's nobody even over there. So I'm like, well, shit, let's hurry up and just record it right here. So we set up the tripod. We're recording everything. He's got his Effie shirt on, which that's something we didn't talk about. Out of all the people that could have stuck out, he got a blue and pink Effie shirt, which I'll give you was pretty. Oh, shit. He's pulling him out.
It was still sitting here in the suitcase, so I had to pull it out.
Hey man, Effie did the damn thing inside Wargames, bro.
Yeah.
See, Ryan said the same thing. Ryan said dope shirt.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Out of all the ones on the table, that was the one that stood out to me.
Hey, that MDK shirt I got is pretty fucking dope with him with the Bulls jersey on, throwing up the MDK covered in blood, dude.
That one ain't bad, but red and black has been played out forever. There's something to be said about the cotton candy colors in blue and pink.
I ain't mad at you, bro. It was a good pick. But like I said, we were... Go ahead.
Point out, while we're on the point, because we want to get into the AEW and stuff, the support of the LGBTQ plus every other letter that they fit into the acronym at this point, the support was huge out there. I myself, of course, am not leaning that way, but I don't have any problem with anybody, and the support was huge for him. I mean, the population of, that type of person was roughly 20% on the night at the event. So, and when you're talking thousands of people in there, it was definitely noticed and felt. His support was real in there. So shout out to all the Effie fans that were in attendance on the night.
I mean, I can't argue that, dude. And the thing is, think what you want, say what you will about Effie, bro. But Effie got in there and fucking threw down, dude. Like, he got in there and threw down. Like, it wasn't like, I mean, he was the one that started the match for MDK. So, I mean, he was in there the entire time, and then they won. So, I mean, say what you want, but Effie did the damn thing. Like I said, man, we almost got thrown out of Millennium Park because the lady didn't want us filming there, but hey, we got that shit done. Like I said, I just got to figure out why it's not wanting to go over to the computer. But with that being said, Cory, I kind of want to know, what your overall thoughts on All Out as an event were, and what were your thoughts heading into it, and did it live up to expectations, or where are you at on it?
Well, so expectations were really high, right? Like, going into it, I knew there was a reason why Kyle had been asking me for 5 weeks or whatever leading into it. What's your thoughts? What's your feelings? And I felt the anticipation from everybody, every single wrestling fan I had talked to. They were all saying the same thing. This was the one you got to watch. This is the perfect example of wrestling right there. And leaving the arena on the night, I felt as though it definitely lived, if not exceeded those expectations a little bit. Definitely. It was a hell of a night. The reveals at the end had a huge pop. I mean, huge. They had the whole arena going crazy right before we all left. The CM Punk match was huge. Even the Jericho match was big. Everything on the night, every single performance, there was no dull spots. There was no letdowns. There was nothing that I was left wanting more from any single performer or performance. So on the night, honestly, it was perfect for a wrestling show. I don't see much better out there, really. I mean,
All right, so Ryan coming in the comments, shit, man, you must watch wrestling more than I thought you did, man, asking what happened to Daphne. I can't believe I didn't think to say that at the beginning of the show, but she passed away over the weekend. She committed suicide from what it looks like we're seeing. I'm not 110% sure, but rest in peace, Daphne. It's a damn shame, man, because everything I've heard about Daphne, since and everything's come out, it's like, everybody's just talking glowingly about how much she helped them along the way, and it's a fucking shame to see another person go down to suicide if that's what happened and that's what looks like happened, because I mean, it's about time we start taking it more seriously, folks. Think what you want, think what you will, but being pent up like that, man, people deal with it a lot of different ways. I've dealt with depression too. So, rest in peace, Daphne, and thoughts and condolences to her family.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different avenues now. I mean, there's so many ways to talk to people. If you're going through something, reach out. There's always somebody that's willing to help. I mean, because everybody goes through something. I've had suicidal thoughts myself at times. Like, it's not a joke. It's nothing to downplay. And it's a lot of people out there that can help you. So if you're going through something, reach out to somebody. You're not burdening anyone. You're not going to be looked at as weird or anything. Just seek help.
I couldn't agree more with that.
I hope the world being more open to this, the fact that it has been brought, to the forefront in a lot of ways. I hope that does help people that do suffer, because like Kyle had noted, it's not a burden or anything to come to anybody at this point. It's not a problem to have a conversation with somebody about how you feel. You're not going to be ostracized or looked at as weird or anything like that, because it is so in the forefront nowadays. So anybody who may be struggling or anything like that, don't be afraid to shout out to the people nearest to you. And if you feel as though you don't have anybody nearest to you, there is 1,000,000+ lines that you can contact and able to get some type of help. So.
Hey man, but like we said, shout out to Daphne. Daphne, was part of WCW, did her thing in TNA. She was part of Ring of Honor. I mean, she had a legacy in wrestling before concussions and things like that. She had to get out of the ring, and she hurt her neck. She had a neck injury, was why she had to, stop in the ring. So, like I said, I just wanted to reference that since Ryan brought that up. But let's talk about AEW All Out. I have since gotten to watch it both on pay-per-view and being there live in the building. Yes, you already saw it. I've got the AEW All Out shirt on. I was there. Ring the bell. Haha, Devin. No more bell for you to ring. Anyways, AEW All Out. Kyle, where are you putting it? How are you feeling about it? What are your thoughts on the show?
I'll be honest, man. Like, I'll say this, like, I am not as heavy into wrestling a year and a half ago. Like Devin, original, co-host Devin, we got out of wrestling around the same time, right before the pandemic started. Just creatively, for me, WWE was not fulfilling me as a viewer. I was not being rewarded as a viewer. I stopped watching Impact years ago, around the time AJ Styles left and Samoa Joe left. Those were the guys that were the reasons I watched. I would catch ROH if I was up at 12:01 in the morning. I would stay up for New Japan stuff. The Super G1 Climax and stuff like that. But I primarily watched WWE, and I just wasn't rewarded. So I got out of it for the most part. I would still watch Wrestle Talk and What Culture to stay up on what's currently going on. But I've watched Dynamite. I don't watch every episode of Dynamite because of my work schedule. But I do stay up. Probably I'll watch, the most I watch is Dynamite, and then second will probably be SmackDown because of the good work they're doing over there. But
SmackDown's been good for a while, but they've pretty much stacked it. I was talking about that before you came in. SmackDown, bro. I mean, I don't know if this has got to do with because Fox, Fox said look, we don't want shit content or not, but holy crap, have they overstacked SmackDown at this point? I'm not complaining because they're putting out a good product, but I mean, think about it. You've got Roman Reigns, who's arguably the best talent they got in the company. You got Becky Lynch, which is arguably the biggest women's talent you got. You got Brock Lesnar went over there now, who's always draws money for them. I mean, holy hell, if you Seth Rollins, Edge.
Big E, Edge, Cesaro, they have talent. That's the thing why it was always upsetting back in the day, because they always referred to SmackDown as the B show, quote unquote, but they always had the talent. But I watch it now. I don't watch every episode because of my work schedule, but I stay up on it. But for AEW, man, and I'm not an AEW homer. When AEW does stuff bad that I don't like, I call them out for it just like I call WWE out for it. And I think that's the problem that a lot of fans now do. They just say, if you say something positive about AEW, trying to big them up, oh, they're going to put them out of business. No, they're not going to put WWE out of business financially. Creatively, they are beating them, in my opinion. Match for match,
for sure.
Show for show, they are doing it. And this show was
maybe not SmackDown, but I mean,
honestly, I mean, the best thing, the best things about SmackDown, or maybe three things. Well, two now that Bailey's injured. About SmackDown with AEW, not even counting Punk, and I know we'll even counting the three surprise new AEW signings. I had more enjoyment with them because, for one, it was more creative, long-term booking, which rewarded me as a viewer.
I agree
and
with
I got
that.
to see different matches.
And
That's the thing with me. If you want me to watch your show every single week, reward me for that, because I don't have to. I could watch something else, especially in something as niche as wrestling. There are 5 wrestling shows out there. If you want me to watch your show, then reward me for it. And I feel that way with AEW. And with All Out, it is not the greatest pay-per-view that has ever happened, but it is the most enjoyment I've had from a non-WWE pay-per-view ever. And in the last, I'll say 3 years, it's a top 4 pay-per-view I've seen from any wrestling company, and that's counting New Japan, WWE, and all their pay-per-views. This is one of the top 4 that I've seen in the last 3 years at minimum, and the best one I've seen this year. I had so much fun watching this. I had so much fun living vicariously through the fans that are finally back, an electric crowd, seeing one of my favorite wrestlers in CM Punk, and I'm not going to get into it with the reveals, but the Ruby Riot reveal, to me,
Ruby Soho, sir.
Ruby Soho, that literally got me jumping off the couch. My girlfriend was looking at me because I had my headphones in, because she was watching a movie and I was watching on my phone. And I couldn't explain that part to her because it would be getting too inside baseball talking to her about Ruby. But that to me was so exciting, because the biggest problem that I have with AEW is their women's division. I love Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, but other than her, they only have maybe one other real star, I feel. Now having Ruby in there, it just adds a shot of adrenaline into that women's division. And if they can get 1 or 2 big signings or really start promoting some homegrown talent, they will have the most complete roster of almost any wrestling company out there.
So you kind of played into my point. That was something I wanted to bring up when it comes to the AEW women's division, in that they do have some people there that, you know, have the potential to be stars for them going forward. One of which being Chris Statlander, who faced Britt Baker for the championship. I'm a big fan of what she does, and her strength and athleticism. She's definitely somebody to watch. I think Jamie Hayter, when they eventually turn her against Britt Baker, oh my God, I feel like that's got banger written all over.
That's a slow
Say it.
build, and I like that.
Yep.
And that's the thing I like about AEW. They're not afraid to do a low build to really have that great payoff.
I'm with you on that, dude. I mean, like I said, I think when that comes and they eventually split them up, dude, or whenever something happens and a rift happens, because we know how females get from time to time, man. You know, I mean, in any good friendship, I mean, there becomes some issues, and when they do, something tells me, you know, Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter might have some disagreements. But with that being said, I mean, we talk about all the debuts and all the pops, but you want to talk about one of the loudest pops in that whole night. Eddie Kingston was fucking hot in Chicago, bro. When Eddie Kingston came out, man, the pop for Eddie Kingston when he came out, dude, they were going ham for Eddie Kingston. Corey, what'd you think about Eddie Kingston?
I thought he did well in the match, but I going into it, I was kind of not like not like a non-fan of his, because I don't know enough about him either way, but just like the gimmick and stuff that he pulls and stuff, like the street guy and stuff, it just wasn't.
That's him.
It just wasn't in my taste, right? Like, it, you know, to each their own, yada yada. But going in and seeing his match that he performed, and like you said, the crowd really, that was a huge surprise to me how much they went hard for him, and they were happy as hell when he made his walk out there. That's for sure.
I mean, Eddie Kingston, dude, is I don't know, man. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I liked what he was doing in Impact, and you know, for those of you who are watching that also follow us on the MMA and combat sports end of things, I mean, Eddie Kingston also trains an American Top Team. He's fought he's had multiple kickboxing fights and things of that nature. Like I said, it's cool to finally see him get a shot on a big stage. You know, shout out to our homies Mikey and all them from Breaking Down the Ring. He's a past guest to their show. Like I said, though, it's really cool to see him do his thing. Great match between him and Miro. You know, I was telling Cory and Ryan this when we were sitting there. In my opinion, this is what we should have saw with Miro, you know, the whole time. I feel like they kind of started that way when he faced Cena at WrestleMania 31, but with the way everything played out, you know, it kind of was what it was. But like I said, hard-hitting match and a great way to start, you know, start a pay-per-view. I really enjoyed that match. What did you think of Kingston and Miro, Kyle?
I'm a huge fan of Miro. Like, I've been a fan of him ever since he was formerly known as Rusev. I thought it was a really good match. Like I said, I predicted that he would win because they need to keep him as strong as possible. And I love the fact that that was the first match of the card, because you want to start it off with a barn burner, and starting off with him, that was automatically going to get the crowd into it. And I love the fact that you know how to book a card when you're putting him on first, because you're going to get the crowd electric from the beginning. And that's the smart thing to do. It was a good match.
So with that being said, I mean, where do you think when he comes back, what do you think we're gonna see from Kip Sabian, bro?
I think you're going to see him be a little more ferocious, because you got to be now. You just have to be. I mean, you can't be all talk and then lose all the time.
Well, I mean, Miro beat the hell out of him, so he's going to be on his own when he comes back. So we're going to have to see what they do with Kip Sabian whenever he comes back. Just a thought coming off of that match, but dude, like I said, it's all out. So we were originally supposed to be sitting on the side of the building. We ended up sitting dead center with our homie Ryan McKinnell from Busted Open, which if you haven't already checked out those episodes, they're all there in the archives. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And if you listen to this on the podcast, afterwards, feel free to leave a 5-star review and drop a review, and I will show them here on the show next week. But the next match on the card, dude, I think might have stole the whole fucking show, in my opinion. To be honest with you, that might have been one of the best tag team matches I've seen in a very long time, dude. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Pentagon and Phoenix versus the Young Bucks. You had storytelling in that match. You had amazing athleticism in that match, and they just beat the shit out of each other. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but I mean, it was a absolutely badass match, dude. I mean, and here's the thing. My first thought after watching that, and I said this to Cory and Ryan when we were sitting in the seats, but think about this. Not only, are they now finally the tag team champions, but we haven't even gotten to see either one of them as a single in AEW yet.
Yep.
Both of them were Lucha Underground champion. Pentagon was AAA champion. I mean, they've been champions everywhere they went and have had badass matches even against each other. So, I mean, like I said, for me, dude, I've been huge fans of Pentagon and Phoenix for a while, and the Young Bucks, I feel like at this point really should go without saying. I mean, as far as tag team wrestling goes, I mean, they've kind of really been one of the standard bearers for the better part of the last 10 years anyway. So great match between them and the Lucha Brothers. I think they're the perfect team to take it off them, especially with the irony to ring the bell. I was there for it the last time they faced each other in the ladder match that they had it all out in the same building 3 years ago. Again, that long-term storytelling and keeping people apart and all those type of things. Cory, what were your thoughts on the ladder match and the crowd during that ladder match?
The crowd during the ladder match was definitely going wild. There was the moment where it got big and the moments where they went off the top of the cage and stuff like that. They definitely had the crowd just insane in there. But my thoughts on the match itself, man, being my first cage match I ever went to, other than the GCW one, which is I don't even want to like compare the two because I feel like the GCW thing was just a whole nother can of worms. Being that was my first cage match, I feel like the Young Bucks did amazing.
Oh, we lost Kyle.
It looked like he was switching to his PC, so it'll probably.
That's kind of what I figured.
But
so Kyle should be back momentarily.
Yeah, but either way, it seemed like the Young Bucks did amazing. There's a reason why they're highly regarded as one of the best tag teams around and stuff. They definitely did a great job, in my opinion, leading the dance a little bit, even though I feel as though the other guys definitely deserve. Like it's funny, right? Because I feel like the Young Bucks have like the big, bright, like American shine to them, right? But I feel like at the same time, like how to word it right is not my forte at the moment, but no, the Young Bucks did great. What was the
Lucha Brothers?
Pentagon and what?
Pentagon and Phoenix.
Pentagon and Phoenix, that's what it was. They did great. There's a reason why they walked away with the belt, in my opinion. That match was definitely hard hitting. I had noted to you on the night that even though the spot where they did it was absolutely huge, and I get why they kept it to a limited amount, I wish we had seen a little bit more of the cage being involved besides them just being thrown into the side of it. don't get me wrong, was still entertaining. They had a couple good spots where they attempted to start to climb it and stuff, but
you can't win by getting out of the cage. That's why they didn't climb it like that. You could only win by pinfall or submission.
Yeah, but it also at the same point, I don't know. It seems like with cage matches, that's something that is, like programmed in wrestling fans' minds. I feel like even me as a older fan, that's something that's programmed in my mind, is everybody trying to get to the top and then always some type of slams ensuing because of it. So I wish there might have been maybe one or two more spots on the top of the cage. I get that's dangerous as hell, and I'm just a fan sitting in my chair hoping for too much. But the match was also very entertaining nonetheless. I definitely enjoyed that one. That was one of my favorites on the night. So what was your thoughts on it, Kyle?
Like I said, man, to me that match stole the card. Kyle, we're talking about the cage match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. For me, that match basically stole the show, dude. I mean, I don't really know how else to put it. I mean, that crowd was going fucking insane for that match. And I mean, dude, from them ripping the mask to the Kyle, all right. Do you think it's ludicrous or slander to what Matt Jackson did to those Jordan 1s or the other pair of shoes, bro? The tax in the Jordan 1s, bro. Please tell me what your thoughts are on the shoes. Is it slander or good strategy? Oh, wait, his mic's muted, I think. You there?
Can you hear me?
Good? Now I hear you.
Yeah. I think that was an asshole thing to do. I mean, just because you have the money and you have the ability to buy the Jordans doesn't give you license to do that to a pair of Jordans. So if I ever see Matt or Nick Jackson, I will super kick them in the chin. But it was a spot. It was a great spot. It was the best match on the entire night. Like, a lot of the matches had great stories going into them, but this match, a lot of people in the industry I've been seeing over the.
Kyle, you're going out, bro.
You cut out again. Yeah.
It says your mic's muted. There you go.
Nope.
Oh, no, it's muted again. Yeah, it won't let me unmute it for you. Kyle's mic is having technical difficulties. You there, Kyle? Nope, his mic's still out. Yeah, but like I said, that cage match was definitely the match of the night for me, dude. That crowd was going absolutely insane for that match. I mean, they went hard, dude. I mean, I think that everybody who knew what to expect from the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers knew that this was going to be a hell of a match. But I mean, again, that goes back to the story of it with them facing each other in the same building 3 years ago, dude. And then for them to come back in the same building and then them have that match. Great job by all involved. I think Pentagon and Phoenix will be great champions. And like I said, the best part about it to me is the fact that we haven't even seen them as singles yet. You know, we haven't even seen them as singles yet. Both of them are great as singles. I can't wait. Oh, now I can hear them. I can hear them.
Yeah,
so
they're still stuck on my old set. Yeah, they're still stuck on my old settings. Yeah, I agree. You still have singles potential with both of them, which is amazing because if you watch Lucha Underground or if you've seen their stuff in New Japan or AAA, you know how great these two guys are. I mean, these are two of the most underrated best wrestlers in the world. Like, if you're doing a top 10 wrestlers in the world, they need to be in that top 10. This was the best match on the entire card. I'm a little biased because TakeOver and NXT, man, they had a lot of great tag matches over the years. But I'll say, not counting any NXT takeovers of the last 5 years, this is the best wrestling match I've ever seen. It's my favorite Young Bucks match. I would say close to when they went versus the ladder match versus Pride and Powerful about a year and a half ago, where they did the Canadian Destroyer off the top of the ladder. That was amazing. But this was a great match. And this shows that they have the best tag team division in wrestling, and why tag team wrestling is important, because there's so many different things you can do when you have tag team wrestling. You can do great storytelling, you can do a lot of emotional stuff, you can do a lot of great high spots, and you don't wear people out. This showed why tag team wrestling is a true art form. And as much shit as people give them, the Young Bucks really are one of the best tag teams of all time.
Yeah, I can't argue that at this point, because I mean, let's face it. I mean, they did face Team 3D and things like that, but basically once the Dudleys, kind of were out of the picture and things like that, the Young Bucks had a lot to do with keeping tag team wrestling alive and well in the wrestling scene. Like I said, so definitely, in my opinion, best match overall of the card. But still, if nothing else, dude, it was if nothing else, dude, it was dope. And then that brings us to the Battle Royal, which we talked about already a little bit with Ruby Soho coming in and getting the dub in her debut in AEW. Anybody who's watching, please feel free to let us know what you guys thought about any of the debuts on the night. But I mean, definitely a good look for Ruby. Always been a fan of hers. She was super cool when I met her in New Orleans, and even seen her around at like BCWA and things like that too. So it's really cool to see her there. I think most people knew that she was going to be the Joker, but I mean, great job at who it came down to too. Like, with it being Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa, and her, I mean, you really didn't know when it got down to the final two. Are they going to give it to Thunder Rosa because she's new to AEW, or are you going to give it, don't get me wrong, I pretty much was sure that it was going to be Ruby, but I mean, dude, and for her to be from the Indiana area, and to win that in her hometown, dude, it was dope. Ryan Attitude Era, let's go. I mean, that's the thing, bro. That's pretty much what they're comparing AEW to. That's what I was telling you at the bachelor party, bro. Like, I mean, AEW probably would be the closest thing you're gonna find to that Attitude Era, kind of style.
And the thing is, it's better because there's no racism or misogyny, which is what a lot of people forget about the Attitude Era. It's a lot of racism, a lot of misogyny. This is better than that.
You mean like choppy?
You don't see anybody walking around blackface in AEW.
Yeah, that didn't age well.
They did lean into the stereotypes a bit in the 90s. That is for sure.
And I enjoyed it. Like I said, I was gonna pop for Punk. I was gonna pop for the two that we knew that they were gonna be there. We didn't know what somebody was gonna be there ahead of time. We thought maybe he was coming to New York, but it was still in the back of a lot of people's heads. But the one for me, man, was Ruby. I'm a big fan of hers. I was a big fan of hers in WWE because I saw the talent. I had heard of her before. I had heard of her from the Indies right before she got hired in WWE, because I had heard that Bailey said her best match on the Indies was versus Heidi Lovelace. And Heidi Lovelace is Ruby Riot, Ruby Soho. And then seeing the vignettes that she had on her Instagram in the days leading up, which had some great production value. I mean, those things look like real movie quality.
That was something we talked about too. I feel like Mox kind of laid the blueprint for that with, and Cory, you and I were talking about that at the GCW show, where I was kind of explaining to you, like, when his contract went out and then at midnight he had this video that was just badass, dropped and ready to go. Dude, one of the best, most well-produced vignette promos I've seen in a long time, and everybody's just like, holy shit, and I mean, so for her to do that, and I don't know if it was on her own dime or if AEW did it, because I mean, they were already, ready to go and they were showing them on her Instagram, but regardless, I mean, that's something, and it's not that WWE doesn't still do a good job with that, because I mean, hell, the stuff they were doing with Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase and all that kind of stuff was money too. So it's not like WWE still can't do it, but I mean, that was something that was a staple for them. So it's really cool to see that from AEW. And I mean, even down to like, since we're going to get talking about it in a little bit, down to the vignettes with Punk, leading up to the match. I really loved hearing his sit down with JR in the countdown where he straight up said, everybody keeps asking, do I think I'm going to win it all out? Nobody wants to ask the question, well, what happens if this doesn't go the way it's supposed to? And, for him to acknowledge the fact that he knows he's going in there and can lose to this young buck, pretty much to me made a, let's see. Do you guys know Ashley? Wow, Ryan knows more about wrestling than I thought. Yes, I know Ashley Massaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, she wrestled at WrestleMania here in Detroit. Damn, Ryan pulling out like the old names. I didn't know Ryan watched wrestling like that, Cory. Shit.
Yeah. I have no idea.
And I actually know somebody that ran into her at Lafayette, Coney Island downtown. Like somebody, I know somebody got some pictures with her because they were walking and she stands out of a crowd. And they were like, yo, I think that's one of the wrestlers. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's Ashley Massaro. So go take a picture. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, talk about one of those stories. When we were in Vegas, I was with past guest of the show, Justin James, and we were sitting at the pool with his girlfriend and her sister and stuff, which, hey, if you guys haven't done so, check out that episode with Justin James and any of the past UFC guests that we've had on there. But we were sitting by the pool and they go, are those wrestlers? And to our right. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is. And I'm like, yeah, that was, and who it was Ryan Nemeth and Ziggler were in the pool. And
nice.
his sister actually got up and like half-ass like spray tanned him and shit out by the pool.
Ziggler would be one of the people like if I got
it wasn't even Ziggler, it was Nemeth. It was like, Nemeth.
Either one of them, I would be able to instantly get in a conversation with them because they're both hardcore Simpsons fans. And all I know is all I got to do is walk up to them and just say some random Simpsons quote, and we'll just instantly be in a conversation.
I mean, hey, you got that in the back pocket. So when we go to shoot our shot at getting Ryan Nemeth or Dolph Ziggler on the show, then you better be ready to pump out the Simpsons references, bro.
I got that.
All right. Well, like I said, the next thing I wanted to get into a little bit, obviously we talked about the Young Bucks and all those things. We talked about the Battle Royal. Let's talk a little bit about MJF and Chris Jericho. Now, Kyle, I don't know about you, but when they put that stipulation on it, I honestly was like, well, fuck, now we know he's going to lose because he's about to go on tour and all that stuff. And look at me. I ended up falling into the cynical wrestling fan role. And
you're smart. You knew it was going to happen because you're on the internet.
Apparently. So yeah, I was sure that Jericho was going to lose. It didn't even have anything to do with the internet. I just thought because he was going on tour. And, a lot of people are mad about the finish to that. Ryan McKinnell was like, fuck that. He counted 3. I was like, but dude, if you watch the replay, his foot was on the rope. Even if it was only like an inch before 3, he still had his foot on the rope. And so I thought it was a good way to get him a win. Great match of storytelling back and forth. And I said this during the match, and I've said this multiple times on this show. And hey, before you guys go anywhere, just know that we got an interview with MJF down there in the archives. So any of you guys that are AEW fans, we got you motherfucking covered. Anyways, with MJF, I've said it for a long time, dude. I feel like he's the best heel in the business. And I feel like he's going to be a big game player for AEW for a long time. So, Cory, what were your thoughts? Go ahead. You say, Kyle?
No, I was saying, I was agreeing. Yeah, I mean, the guy's only 25 years old. I mean, he looks 37, but he's still 25 years old. And the guy's had this gimmick down for years. So, I mean, the literally.
I don't think it's a gimmick, bro, because like I'm telling you, after being in the
most people say this, your gimmick is true. You're the person you are turned up to 1,000. That's probably who he is. But I mean, he's had this down. He's enjoyable to watch for me as a guy that got into wrestling when I was a kid in the 80s. He is a old school heel that you want to pay money to see somebody hit in the face. And that is a true art that does not exist that much anymore. So, I mean, he's a good person to sell tickets to see him get his ass kicked. I'm a big Jericho guy, so I was really interested to see if this was going to be one of those things where, yeah, we all know Jericho's about to go on tour with Fozzy. Is this going to be something where he gives MJF the win and goes out for a while, does his tour thing, takes a break and comes back like he used to with WWE, or does he win? I'm glad that he got the win because it helps the story versus their story, because now MJF has losses to him that he can't get rid of, and Jericho will bring that up, and it's only going to foster this great rivalry they've had. And this whole thing is about Jericho taking MJF under his wing. I mean, he picked this kid out of everybody in the company and said, this is the person I'm going to work with. This is the person I'm going to groom. This is going to be me as Triple H to him as Randy Orton. This is the person I'm going to put all of my effort into to make the next face of this business for the next 20 years. And it's a great thing to watch.
I can't argue that at all. Corey, what were your thoughts on that match?
That's definitely an interesting way to look at it for sure, because that's one of the things I had actually complained about going into it with that match, was that I had seen it, so many times. I had heard it talked about so many times because they had ran that match so many times. But when you look at it from that perspective, that actually is definitely true, that, he's taken him and chose basically to do all these matches with him for a reason, because he wants to build the name of MJF. Can't argue with that. That's definitely a valid point. As for the match itself being there, it was interesting seeing Jericho in person. This is somebody that we've seen since we were kids on the screen, Kyle. I don't know how many times you may have seen him in person at this point, Kyle, but of course this was my first. And yeah, the entry music was sweet. Hearing everybody sing him along on his way out.
I definitely liked the actual song itself better, personally. What about you? Did you like the guitar better?
That guitar was a little too overblown, man, because it was all over.
Andy wasn't on key, I felt like. Corey did it not.
He wasn't.
Like, when I didn't get, so full disclosure, hold on, I have to point this out because you told me to point this out. Before you go on, shout out to the crowd at AEW. Here's why. Fuck you, IBS, because I missed the end of the Casino Battle Royal, but I still knew who won because of the crowd, and I heard them all singing along with it, but I didn't know until I watched the pay-per-view back at home that it was a guy playing the guitar with him. And my first thought when I listened to it back is, I'm like, damn, this dude is like kind of like off key. Like, why the hell didn't they just have one of the guys from Fozzy play the shit? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe if that was one of the guys, but I'm 99% sure
it was. It was
really?
one of his bandmates from Fozzy.
Really?
But like they amped up his guitar so he could get to the whole arena, but he was over shredding, and that's the thing. That's a song that you have to hit. So you're doing it in rhythm with a song. You have to hit certain notes, and the crowd singing along with it. Yeah. I could hear it throwing them off. Because everybody knows the song, so everybody's in with it, and then he messes it up, goes a little too long, a little too short, and I could tell kind of threw everybody off until it got to a certain point. Everybody knew exactly where the song was supposed to be, and then it got cool. But the first part of the song, it was like, dude.
All right, so and
in the arena, because Kyle had noted he was in the bathroom, unfortunately, at that moment, but. You could definitely know
it was all because of that damn pretzel. When am I going to learn to stop eating the damn pretzel?
But with that being said, you could definitely feel it. That was one of the things I was actually anticipating most on the nights. I've been to a million concerts in my life, so that's one of my favorite things is just kind of stepping back and watching the whole crowd just take in a song at once, And it did take it down a notch because of the guitar. You could even notice when they did the walk outs, when the match was over and they were returning to the back, they played a song again, and the crowd was honestly just as hyped for that as they were for the guitar thing. So you could tell where they were anticipating the real song. The guitar thing, it may have missed the mark a bit, but you got to shoot to find out if you miss.
True.
I'm with you. Well, that takes us to the real reason that I feel like most people were there. And Ryan, if you're there watching still, now we're going to get to the CM Punk match.
Talk about crowd singing along to a song.
Son of a bitch. every time they restarted it too, and it was like so much fun too, dude, because everybody was just going along, everybody was like vibed out. It was dude, it was dope. And when it hit, I mean, they may not have popped as loud as they did at Rampage because it was a bigger arena, but dude, yep, he's got it.
It's literally my ringtone. That's literally
dude,
my main ringtone. Whenever somebody
did you
calls.
know? Well, bro, like that even goes into what we were talking about too. Did you know that with him coming back, that shot up to like number 5 on the iTunes charts and shit?
It did the
that
same
song's
thing,
older than me.
Back in 2011, I know. Shut up. Back in 2011, when he first did it, it got hugely popular again on iTunes because there's a whole generation of kids that didn't know, for one, about Color Me Bad, but they didn't know that they were a black band, that they're actually a black band that did rock music and did it very well.
I was one of those kids roughly about 7 years ago. I did the same thing. I was like, okay, this song's pretty badass. Let me go through their catalog, and then looked at the video, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And one funny thing, if you go to their YouTube for the actual video, the comment section is one of the best comment sections you will ever see, because it's probably like 90,000 comments. 89,000 of them are CM Punk fans. And there's one person that made a comment from January like 20th of this year. And it was like, start the video at like 104. And he's like, and then WWE Royal Rumble 2021, 2-1. And then for Punk's music to hit like it normally hit, I'm like, that would be cool. But then now this is better. But it's a great comment section too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that was his entrance was badass. First of all, CM Punk, you're a motherfucking liar. You were on Renee's show earlier that morning, and you said you was going to be in your underwear in front of the crowd, and he came back with a whole new look. And
I like tights.
I was going to say, dude, it's the first time I can really remember him ever wearing pants other than the shorts that he wore when he first came out, when he wore the gym shorts that just said Punk down the side of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I wasn't mad at the tights look. I thought it looked all right. And, you know, before we even get into the match, shout out to Punk for the fact that the dude looked fucking good, man. Dude was in shape.
Like in the first like 2 minutes, there was a little ring rust, and then as the match started progressing, you started seeing him naturally just start hitting the spots a lot more tighter. You start seeing that muscle memory coming back, and it was fun to see, because I'm like, when he did the first couple moves, Darby hit him, I think, like a missile drop kick, and he felt like, all right, he didn't get up too fast for that. You're in your early 40s, I get it. But then as that match started going along, start seeing the best in the world.
Well, I mean, and it just shows the maturity of CM Punk, because you got a guy like Darby Allin who's 100 miles an hour, go, and you were able to slow down, put him in a headlock, and the crowd was just as into it as when Darby took that fucking gnarly bump. And all right, Kyle,
that kid's back is gonna be shit by the time he is.
Did you notice the Bret Hart bump?
I've heard people saying this. No, I didn't catch that one. What was it?
So what happened was when he threw him in, and when Darby went through the pole, that was the Bret Hart spot.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
WrestleMania 12, he went through the pole. That was
and you could see the welt on his back the second he landed. Like, that was hard. Like, that was legit as fast and as hard as he could go.
I don't think it was necessarily the pole that fucked him up so much. I think it was the stairs underneath. You know, like, he landed right on the point of one of those stairs, and whether he's a smaller, agile guy or not, you know, that's the stuff that hurts, is the sharp points, you know.
And then that Swanton bomb he did on Punk, you could tell he did it a little too fast because Punk wasn't really in position to catch him yet. Like, Punk was still getting up, and then he just leaps up to the turnbuckle and leaps off, and Punk had to try to dive to get in position so he didn't just take a flat back bump on the concrete. But the kid is a daredevil, man. But you gotta start thinking smarter.
Man, we got to chat with him in Baltimore at Full Gear, ironically, with that being their next pay-per-view. And we ended up in Bleacher Report for it when we were talking about his time in Evolve and things like that. So make sure you go check that out. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. With that being said, I mean, dude, and let's talk about Darby for a minute, because for Darby being in there for against somebody like CM Punk, dude, that crowd was pretty fucking hot for Darby too, dude.
Yeah.
Like that. That's one thing I like about what they've done, and especially about All Out. The way they book these matches, they picked great people to go against the great veterans to go against the young guys, like Jericho and MJF, and with Punk and Darby. As a guy that's watched this and knows the insider stuff, I knew Punk was going to win because there's no way Punk doesn't win his first match out. Yeah. And I said it. I said it last week. I'm like, Punk doing this gives Darby the rub because he's a younger guy that has a lot of potential. Putting him in the ring with Punk is automatically going to boost his stock up. But then having Punk do the honorable thing, give him the handshake, help him up. Yeah, you lost, but you still look good in defeat. That was the best outcome that could have happened from this match, and that is smart booking because that builds up your next big talent.
Yeah.
Well, I said it right after. Go ahead.
What I could totally see happening is because of the fact how they ended on the handshake and everything, like you had noted, I could totally see them building up Darby in a separate instance, give him his own matches, and have him almost work his way up as CM Punk is now going to be a part of the, elite of all elite wrestling, should I say? And with that being said, he's going to work his way back up to that spot, and I could totally see him once CM Punk is kind of on his way out of the AEW, where Darby just totally fills that position and ends up winning their second match or whatever the case be. So,
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at that at all. I mean, I said this as soon as the match was over. I feel like Darby got just as much out of that match in a loss as Punk did with a win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, because you couldn't watch that match and not be like, dude, Darby fucking went for it. Now, here's the question. Out of that, do you think it's more likely that we're going to see CM Punk versus Sting next? Or do you think it's going to be Punk and Bryan next?
I think you have to do Punk Bryan because...
But he already, mind you, later that night, we already saw him tangled up with the Elite. So
I mean, Bryan and Cole being in there instantly make them the guys that everybody wants to go against. But knowing that you have Bryan on borrowed time, I think you have to have, if Bryan's first match isn't versus Kenny for the title, it's got to be versus Punk, in my opinion.
What about Adam Cole?
Baby. You hold off on that one because you've already seen it. You saw they had one of the best matches in the history of SmackDown a few years ago. But I think, and I know you'll really get this, Kyle, when you had Flair and Hogan in WWF in the early 90s, and you never had them go versus the title versus each other, and they didn't go versus each other at WrestleMania, that was one of the biggest regrets of Vince McMahon. And that's one of the things as a wrestling fan, you always wish you could have seen Hogan, Flair at WrestleMania. When Hogan goes to WCW, the first match he has is versus Ric Flair for the WCW World Title because Eric Bischoff knew you have to do certain things. And Punk and Bryan are two guys that made the indie tweener, don't have to be a big jack steroid guy. They made the indie technical wrestler of the early and mid 2000s popular. They are the guys that ROH built their company off of. You got to do this.
I'm with you on that, but I think with the way they set it up, I think you're more likely going to see Bryan go against somebody from the Elite, whether it's Kenny or, Adam Cole or whatever the case is. I don't think there's any rush on their end to hurry up and get that done because you got to realize, I mean, Punk signed a 3-year deal. I think there's not a question in my mind that's the thing. there's not a question in my mind that even if it doesn't end up being the first feud that Bryan goes against, Punk versus Danielson on AEW TV is not too far away. Which, speaking of AEW TV, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons. I mean, it's not going to be on Dynamite now, but come Rampage on Friday, dude. I mean, you're going to get the other match that we were supposed to see on All Out, and that's Andrade El Idolo versus Pac, which
that kind of worked in their favor.
Okay, elaborate.
Well, if you had that on this card, it almost would have been overstacked. You know, like there have been
like it
so
wasn't
much
already.
No, I mean it was, but I mean like now in hindsight, it's one of those things where you can almost look at it as a blessing that Pac didn't get his clearance to come over, because now that is going to be the main event of either Dynamite or Rampage.
It's Rampage on Friday.
Yeah, and that is a reason to watch, because you're going to see two of the best wrestlers in the world go versus each other for the first time. And not to mention everything else that's happened. So that this, you don't need Kenny to even make an appearance if he doesn't want to. You don't need him to be in a match. You don't need Punk to be in a match. You don't need Cole. You don't need Bryan to be in a match to get somebody.
You know damn well they're all going to be on there.
No, I mean, but you don't even need them to be in matches. You could just have them come out and cut promos, because now if you want a landmark match, a reason to watch Rampage, you got Pac versus Andrade. That is a draw right there.
Yeah, I can't argue that at all. That look, like I said, dude, I think, like I said, Andrade, I think it was one of his best moves was to come to AEW. I think that was one of his best moves was to come to AEW. Like I said, I'm really interested to see where they go with it. And like I was telling you before we walked in the building, Corey, I mean, Pac is so dope. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing this match Friday on Rampage. All right. The next thing I got on there, so we talked about Punk. Like I said, then you had what were your thoughts on what we saw from Paul White, Kyle? Cory said, well, there you go, Cory. You know, you were the first one to comment about that match as soon as it's over. What were your thoughts on the return of Paul White?
Yeah, I immediately actually leaned over to you and Ryan, was like, I don't think they could have did a better spot for the Big Show, now Paul White. They couldn't have did a better spot for him. It was, roughly 5-10 minutes in length, maybe. It was a lot of positive, very minimum on the negative. You got to see him be the big man, take on a couple guys at once, do his thing, dominate, and walk in, walk out. I felt like it was the perfect spot for somebody of his stature, I guess you could say.
Kyle, what about you?
Yeah, this was the bathroom match for me. This is where I went to the bathroom, and then I started watching Rick and Morty, because the Rick and Morty 2 episode season finale was happening, and I was trying to work to get the internet to work for that. So this is why I was paying attention to that. So I didn't come back in until probably about the last 5 minutes of the Omega Christian match, because I was my focus was tied to Rick and Morty. So I had the phone in my hand and my earbuds in for All Out, but I was watching Rick and Morty at that time. So I saw Big Show, but it's Big Show.
All right. Well, we skipped a match. What were your guys' thoughts on? I guess I'll go first on this one. But what were your thoughts on the AEW Women's World Title match with our still AEW Women's Champion and the Doctor Britt Baker, DMD? Like I said, man, Britt Baker's proven why she's one of the biggest stars in wrestling, whether it be male or female. Obviously, in my opinion, the biggest star they have on the women's division. And then on the other side of that match, I've already noted, if we're talking about talent that AEW has that they can grow upon, that can be stars for them going forward. I've said since she came in and they had her on Dark, I'm a big fan of Chris Statlander. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with Jamie Hayter. And again, in my opinion, Britt Baker really, really showed what's up, dude. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. Maybe she really is the baddest bitch on the block. Cory, what were your thoughts on the Good Doctor?
Like you said, I feel like that match kind of, not to take anything away from it, but Kyle, you had noted that AEW, if there's one thing lacking there, maybe their women's division. She did do an amazing job, but honestly, that match with everything else that was going on the night, that was my time to grab a couple beers break. So,
Kyle, what were your thoughts on the Good Doctor?
Yeah, like Cory said, like I've seen Britt have better matches, and that's not saying that this was a bad match. This was a really good match, but I've seen her have better matches. So I wasn't really like it didn't really like affect me to where it wasn't a match that didn't like burn the house down or anything. Because I'm like, all right, that was good. I love the Pittsburgh Sunrise move. Her doing that, I love that spot. And then that to me was the more interesting thing of the match because I'm like, she doesn't do that if Adam isn't backstage. Like she doesn't do that if he's not backstage. But it was a good match. I knew she was gonna win, and it was one of those things where Chris had a great match. She did cement herself as one of the better challengers that Britt has had, but Britt needed to win because you got Ruby waiting in the wings. So the match did what it needed to do.
I agree with that. All right. Well, go ahead.
It may have been because I was watching it on a screen while grabbing my beer compared to being in my seat, but I feel like the Casino Royale match definitely stuck out way more than that, being, comparing the two women's matches on the night. So.
And because of that, too, I hope we start seeing a little more from Kiera Hogan. I've been a big fan of hers from Impact. She was the last matches in Impact that I watched. It was because of her and Tessa Blanchard. And the fact that they have her in AEW now, I would like to see them do something with her because she's extremely talented. And I just love Jade Cargill. I think that woman is absolutely gorgeous and is chiseled out of freaking marble. And if she can really start developing in the ring more, they have another potential breakout star that they could really cement their women's division.
I can't argue that at all. I mean, Jade Cargill looks like Storm, and you ain't lying. She is gorgeous. So, like I said, definitely not mad at that at all. Cory, you've mentioned when we were watching NWA Empower that Kiera Hogan was one of your standouts. So, what were your thoughts on seeing Kiera Hogan in the Casino Battle Royal earlier in the night?
I thought she did great. I hope she continues to get more spots and stuff and continues to get more spotlight in AEW because I felt like she did good on the spot. But being that it was the Casino Royale, there was so much going on. It was hard to necessarily keep focus on one person. So she did do good in the spots that I was able to watch her in particular. But I was all over the place on that one. So it was hard for me to comment necessarily on one single person.
All right, well, we are to the main event, and Kyle, since you were, you said you were talking about Rick and Morty, I guess I'll start and talk a little bit about, what I saw from my vantage point. So the thing I like about this match that I was a little bit, skeptical of going into it is the fact that now you've built in that these guys got to have a trilogy. I mean, they have to face each other again now. Because Christian beat Kenny Omega for the Impact title, and then Kenny came back and beat Christian when it was for the AEW title. So now they got to fight again. When that's going to be, I don't know, especially with inserting Adam Cole and all those kind of things. But, dude, it's going to be boom. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how all that shit plays out because Christian showed why he's so good. And like Kyle, this is more, I guess, a thought for you. But I mean, like I was explaining this to Cory when we were in the seats. Like, think about the fact that we live in a time that CM Punk, Edge, Christian, I mean, who else? Sting,
Jericho,
Daniel Bryan.
Jericho never left. I'm talking about Daniel Bryan.
He may have never left, but the fact that he's still on top of a major organization.
Well, that just to me that speaks to his legacy. But what I'm saying is more so towards like it's wild to think that you had all these guys that were essentially out of wrestling. You know, Daniel Bryan can't wrestle anymore because of his neck. Edge can't wrestle anymore because of his neck. Christian can't wrestle anymore because of his neck. Sting can't wrestle anymore because of his neck. Gone. And ironically, Christian and Punk were gone for 7 years apiece. And now they're both back. You know, Edge is back at the top of his game. It's wild to think that all of us were like, what the fuck, that they went out that way. And now not only are they back, but they're all in prominent spots in both companies right now.
Only one missing this page. She's the only one
left.
I
mean, and I've heard that she might be back too.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. She's only, 26, 27? So she still
that
has
was such a shame, and
left.
she is so damn good too, dude.
And they still don't give her flowers. They make this whole women's revolution thing like it started with the 4 horsewomen. The women's revolution started with Emma and Paige, man. Like they don't give them enough respect for that, for really bringing in real technical wrestling to the women's division in WWE, and that's what spearheaded all this. But I love the fact that Kenny is box office, and you really want to see him get his ass kicked. But the guy is the best pro wrestler in the world. I know I say it for Punk, but pound for pound, Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world right now. And I love seeing this as a guy that grew up watching Christian. I was always a fan of Christian. Like, I guess I was a guy that grew to the guy that they didn't push in my face. So I was always more of a Christian over Edge. Even though Edge is in my top 10, I was always a Matt over Jeff guy. I love seeing Christian back, seeing him have great matches and prove that, no, just because Vince didn't like his face literally and didn't think he was good, this guy is one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time.
No argument. I mean, not to even mention, you know, how everybody talks about how he's an instant asset to any locker room that he's in. Well, Cory, I mean, that's, I guess, as good a question as any to ask you. I mean, I know you knew Christian from back in the day, but what were your thoughts on seeing Kenny Omega live?
Well, going into this one, I had even brought up the question, I believe, on the show in the past. I know I had asked you, Kyle, one of the times that we had sat down and watched a match together and stuff, but I just didn't see why everybody and their brother thought that Kenny Omega was just the top of the food chain. And I had even, like I said, presented that on the show and had asked a couple people why they felt that way. And seeing him in person, I can see why people would feel that way. He definitely did the crowd go as crazy for him as everybody else maybe on the night? No. Did he have some awesome spots while in the match, though? Yeah, he definitely did. He lived up to a lot of, I guess, the not expectation that I had, because I felt the way that I did and had presented that, but the expectation that I feel as though others had, he definitely seemed to live up to that on the night. He put on definitely a good match, so no complaints. He doesn't draw an emotion out of me necessarily, so I don't feel one way or another. I kind of wish we would have seen Christian get the win because of the fact that I am familiar with Christian at this point. I've known him since I was a kid. So it was cool to get to see him wrestle in person. I thought he did good in the match and everything. But I was rooting for Christian when we didn't see him get the dub. I was a little disappointed. But I can see why people are a Kenny Omega fan. So
I mean, I can't argue that. And I'm not going to lie, dude. Like, I thought when the lights went out, I'm like, who the hell is this about to be? Because I didn't think, you know, obviously it wasn't going to be Daniel Bryan to come out with the Elite. But, dude, I mean, I know I said it here on the show. I said I thought Adam Cole was going to stay with WWE and he was going to get, you know, they were offering him $1 million a year and, you know, all this, that they were going to bring him back. But, dude, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, that crowd went fucking nuts when Adam Cole came out. Kyle, what are your thoughts on Adam Cole coming to AEW?
I love it. This and Bryan and Punk, this is a real tide turner. When you really look at the landscape of wrestling, you have 3 guys who are the faces of the company in WWE, who, and especially in Bryan and Cole's positions, they chose to leave. Like their contracts lapsed, they could have re-signed with them, and they chose not to. And that says something about what's the culture in WWE and the culture in AEW. They would prefer to go over to the biggest competitor and work for them. And for Cole, it made a lot more sense because his girlfriend works there, his best friends work there, and he even said that even before this, when he was still under contract with WWE the last 2 years, he would still be at the events supporting Britt. So he already knew everybody, so it was just a great fit. For Brian was a face of the company, and his wife is still under contract with WWE and still has ties to WWE, and he chose to leave. So that says it's not so much about the money, it's people wanting to be happy in what they do. And when you listen to what Punk said, he said the main reason he signed with AEW was the Brody Lee tribute. When he saw everybody stop what they were doing and put on an entire show honoring Mr. Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper in WWE, it moved him like it moved all of us. And he said, this is a place I want to work because they seem like they actually care about each other. And that's what led him there too. So it's also great to see wrestlers be happy doing what they love. You know, like I use a guy like Ricochet. Ricochet is one of the best wrestlers in the world, and you can tell he's not happy in WWE. So seeing Ruby's face when she came out, it's a great feeling for me because I can actually tell they're enjoying what they're doing, and that's a great thing.
So it's ironic that you bring that up because there was something that you guys didn't get to see on the pay-per-view that we got to see after the camera stopped rolling. So after the camera stopped rolling, Daniel Bryan, well, why am I calling him Daniel Bryan? Bryan Danielson grabbed himself a mic and got on there and talked about why he came to AEW and what made the choice.
They didn't include that speech in the pay-per-view?
No.
Wow.
His first word. No, dude.
That
Right, but they want his first words to be on TV. But right, that was all caught off camera. So Brian went on to go and say, he was like, look, man, you know, contrary, and this probably is going to get a lot of you to boo me. I was somebody that loved being at WWE. He said, I loved where I worked and I still left. I think for a lot of these guys, it has to do with this whole sports entertainment deal that they're talking about, because the one thing he said was, you know, I love wrestling. I'm a fucking wrestler. That's what he had said. You know, and he's like, people want me to say, oh, I hate WWE. He's like, I want WWE to succeed. He goes, I literally still have family in that company. He was like, you know, so I don't want them to do bad, but it just seems like you said, the freedom to be able to do what they want to do and to be able to just get in there and wrestle, dude. And I mean, for if nothing else, dude, Brian looked great. I mean, there's not really anything you can say. He came in shape. I think they're going to be able to plug him right into whatever he gets into. I don't think it'll be Punk right away. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe him versus Adam Cole might be first. But who knows what happens, dude? I mean, Cory, what were your thoughts on the promo after the cameras went off, since you were in the building for that?
Like I said, I felt like that was an absolute home run. I'm actually surprised that they didn't include that because it didn't seem rehearsed or anything like that. It was a home run. He did great on the mic in that particular instance, so I'm surprised it wasn't included. But yeah, he did. He added the fact that, you know, like you had alluded to, that he wasn't necessarily mad with where he was, but he wanted to wrestle, and he was mad that was getting phased out of wrestling. As for the signing itself, I felt like it was a great signing. It was being rumored about, so I obviously had made the rounds that it was more than likely to happen. But I still feel like because they did it so late and because they did Adam Cole first, it took everybody for a shock that it still ended up happening at the end, I guess. So shout out to AEW for the way that they still were able to execute it, I guess.
I don't know, Kyle. I mean, that's a pretty good way to end a show, dude. I mean, like I said, for any of you guys that are still waiting on it, yes, there is a vlog from AEW. It will probably be dropping Thursday night. We definitely had some technical issues because it didn't want to let me transfer said videos to my laptop. Hey, maybe it's the lady from Millennium Park. God damn it, I already filmed my content. Leave it alone. Anyways, like I said, dude, it was a great show. And then we got to film our immediate reactions, which are also a part of that vlog, which is all the more reason you need to hit that subscribe button. But we did those back at the hotel with our homie Ken Brass. So like I said, man, Kyle, where do you think we go from here for AEW, and what overall impact do you think that this show had on wrestling?
I think this really was a watershed moment for the industry. This is going to get a lot of new fans, and it's going to get a lot of old fans. And wrestling is one of those things where, you get people into wrestling. If they don't catch it when they're young, somebody gets them into it. So this is going to get a lot of people who are Punk fans from 7 years ago, who are Daniel Bryan fans from 6 years ago, people who are currently Adam Cole fans, who are NXT loyalists that miss him on NXT and the direction NXT is looking to go now. They're going to now start watching AEW, and it's really going to make them, at least from a rating standpoint and a creative standpoint, a big threat to WWE, which for a wrestling fan, I don't own stock in WWE. I don't own stock in AEW. So just as a viewer, I love it because that makes it all the more creative. The Attitude Era is the era that everybody talks about, and it's the most creative and biggest boom in the history of wrestling. That's because you had two companies going head to head. So now it's going to be just like that again, and that's something that's great for me.
I'm with you on that one, dude. Like I said, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Cory, before we get out of here for the night, what were your overall thoughts on Chicago, AEW All Out, GCW, and hey, dude, shout out to Nick Gage. We want to talk about all these people who worked the crowd. Holy shit. That guy had that crowd in a frenzy, and then he came around each side and just, like, did his deal. And then the cameo that Ken had, repping for the new members, the MDK, my man's D and my man's Ken. If you got a problem with them, you got a problem with me, and I'm going to start carving motherfuckers up. Man, it was that cameo. That cameo was something else.
That cameo was wild for sure. That shit was pretty funny. You're right. He definitely had the crowd going wild and stuff. GCW, like I said, was as big as the whole All Out event was, and not to take anything away from it at all. But GCW put on an amazing show. I had just as much fun there. For anybody who may be a fan and hasn't made their way to a show.
Hey, they're going to be here in Detroit in November. For all of y'all that are listening, GCW will be here in November.
For anybody who is a fan and hasn't been out, it was a fun time, especially they had the building in Chicago packed. They had, at one point as we were walking in, they said, you better get the fuck in or we ain't even accepting people with tickets.
We're filled to capacity. Nobody else is coming in even if you got tickets. So
yeah. So they had the place at capacity. The matches were incredible. AEW, everything about it was definitely next level. You could tell it was, the AAA experience, I guess you could say, of, top tier. Everything from walkouts to songs to the fact that the fan interaction, the matches, everything about that was a great night as well. Shout out Cubs pulling that game together. I kept saying I wanted to go to City Park, which I now found out it's called some bullshit called Guaranteed Rate Park. But kept saying I want to go there on my next trip to Chicago. Maybe we'll go in the fall time and maybe see a Bears game. That would be fun as well. But Chicago was a great time. Would love to go back sometime again soon. But man, if y'all don't stop charging for fucking parking, toll roads, fucking everything and the other
shit,
y'all might.
What are you talking about, fool? I still gotta pay for those. You're part of the we didn't even damn pay none of them. Fuck off. I still gotta pay them bitches.
That shit was wild, man. They were charging for every single thing they could. I buy a goddamn Arizona can and it's $1.10. They're charging tax on Arizona cans out there. I'm like, y'all are tripping. So other than that, Chicago was great. And must be mentioned, what kind of big city stops selling booze at midnight? I'm not even a drinker like that. I don't even like party like that, but I'm out of town. I'm in a big town. We just get out of the GCW match. I'm ready to grab me a couple, at least a 6-pack, enjoy the rest of the night. 7-Eleven shoots me down. I'm like,
hey, they shot down Moxley and Tom Lawler too. They came in and I didn't even know they were in there trying to buy beer after GCW, and they wouldn't give Mox beer either, Corey.
Yeah,
and Mox might cut a motherfucker up.
Treatment from my man's at 7-Eleven, that's for sure. But other than that, the city was enjoyable. I would like to go back once this whole COVID shit dies down, so I can enjoy the city at its fullest. But shout out Chicago, thanks for having me.
Hey, dude, like I said, Chicago was a good time. And speaking of Mox, hey, man, you might have to stay tuned. His coach, Gil Gardato from Extreme Couture, might be coming to you real soon. But, hey, man, I think that pretty much sums up our trip to Chicago. But you're going to get to see it more up close and in person come Thursday once my computer decides to act right. Like I said, stay tuned. We will be live this Thursday and have the return of El Toro, Mando Gutierrez, before he goes to war, September 24th for LFA. And this week, make sure if you're in the Philly area, check out the ECW arena. Make sure you check out the homie Ken Bank on it Robles as he goes to war on September 10th. And Josh the Hammer Burns goes back to war for BKFC this Friday, finally getting the fight with Sam Shoemaker. So, yeah, knockouts and 3 counts is pretty busy. There's plenty of episodes for you to check out in the archives. Kyle, it was great to have you back. Corey, I'm glad I made it through Chicago. Hey, dude, like I said, we appreciate you guys checking us out. Until next time, in the in-between time, hit that motherfucking subscribe button. Peace.